The Foreign Secretary, Lord Cameron, has said the UK will give at least £3 billion worth of aid to Ukraine every year for as long as necessary. He made the comments in Kyiv while meeting President Zelensky.
In terms of what the Ukrainians do, in our view, it is their decision about how to use these weapons. They're defending their country. They were illegally invaded by Putin, and they must take those steps. We don't discuss any caveats that we put on those things, but let's be absolutely clear. Russia has launched an attack into Ukraine, and Ukraine absolutely has the right to strike back at Russia.
Our correspondent James Waterhouse joined us from Kyiv a little earlier. I asked him what kind of a difference Lord Cameron's comments could make for Ukraine.
Well, Ukraine has always needed Western help to carry out its fight. But what's really interesting about Lord Cameron's comments, I mean, he's clearly in a hawkish mood during his visit to Kyiv. He basically said Ukraine has the right to hit targets inside Russia with the weapons, with the missiles that the UK provides. That is not a view shared by other Western allies. It's actually a condition applied to their support that Ukraine doesn't hit inside Russia. Why? Well, with Ukraine hitting energy infrastructure inside Russia, there are fears of energy prices rising, but also the West has always been fearful or wary of an escalation in some way. You just need to watch Russian state TV to see how they point out or allude to the fact that they've got a sizable arsenal of nuclear weapons. So the West is keen to keep this war within the boundaries of Ukraine, but we are seeing Ukraine hit Russia with drones it makes domestically. Nevertheless, this is a sizable offering from the UK and a sizable commitment, £3 billion a year for as long as it takes. He described this war as being the biggest challenge of a generation. It will include long-range missiles like Storm Shadows, which Ukraine has used effectively on occupied Crimea. It will use air defence. It will involve air defence equipment that will be used by teams you see in Ukrainian towns and cities as they try to take out drones launched by occupying Russian troops. So this will be welcomed. There is also part of the money will go towards restoring Ukraine's energy infrastructure. But look, trips like these are welcome, and I think this is the UK trying to keep the pressure up on other Western allies to say, look, you know, we should all be doing as much as we can to keep Ukraine in the fight.
Well, we can now speak to the Ukrainian MP, Lesia Vasilenko. Thank you for joining us on BBC News. I wanted to touch on some of what James had to say there, particularly the comments from the British Foreign Secretary that the UK would support Ukraine using British weapons to carry out attacks within Russia. What kind of a difference would that make for Ukraine? Is this something that Ukraine has wanted?
It's a huge difference. Attacks carried out on Ukraine are mainly originating from the territory of Russia. So for us, being able to hit back and destroy the sources of the attacks would actually turn things around immensely, especially for those regions bordering Russia, like the Kharkiv region, like Luhansk region, the Donetsk region, all of those regions. We could potentially not just keep the people there safe and secure, but we could actually push back on Russia's occupation of those territories and even free those territories.
But would this really raise the prospect of an escalation in the conflict?
Russia does not need reason to escalate. Russia escalates when it sees fit and when it is ready to escalate. I would like to remind everyone that this attack Ukraine is fighting back on has been unprovoked from Ukraine, either in 2022 nor in 2014 when Russia's aggression first started. So again, Russia needs no provocation. Russia will continue attacking for as long as it is able to attack. This is why it is crucial to actually destroy those sources from which Russia is launching the attack, those launch pads inside of Russia, and also the launch pads that Russia has created within its the territories of Ukraine that it illegally occupies today.
And the UK now promising £3 billion of aid every year for as long as Ukraine needs this. I'm sure this will be welcomed within Ukraine. Do you think this will put pressure on other Western countries to step up support for your country?
Hopefully this, as well as the phrase that Ukraine is to protect itself in whichever way it sees fit, even by attacking targets in Russia. The UK has often been the forerunner of aid to Ukraine. The Storm Shadows, the long-range missiles, the Challenger tanks, the UK was the first country to give Ukraine the tanks that were needed on the battlefield, and then other nations followed. So similarly with this aid, there is great hope that all the other countries that are helping Ukraine today, militarily, financially, that they will follow suit and that they will increase their spending or their investment in a collective security by giving more to Ukraine for as long as it takes, but also by taking away that clause that the weapons are only to be used within the territory of Ukraine.
And just briefly, Lesia, of course, we've seen more aid coming from the US as well. Is that having an impact on the ground where we've seen Ukraine lose territory over the last few months?
Hopefully these territories will be regained, but it will take some time. It's not overnight that the weapons get delivered. It's not overnight that the aid gets delivered. It should be there by the end of 2024, but there's always the question of when will it arrive in its bulk form. So we are hopeful, the front lines are hopeful in Ukraine, and we are ready to use those weapons as soon as they arrive.
Lesia Vasylenko, thank you for joining us.